Hi everyone. We just want to take this to the end of the lesson. We ran out of time today, but we set up the reverse foot, okay, which has the -5 roll, where the heel control does a rotate Z to the 20, and then +5, which has the toe control and the ball control joints rolling back, and then a roll 10 where the toe control really goes up to a rotate Z of 30. Okay, so we also set up the control object here, and let's bring that roll back to 0. And I'm going to duplicate this with special duplicate options. That way I don't have to do everything over again. Okay. What's cool about this is that it will copy your set-driven key values, and all you have to do is recreate the constraints. So let's get started. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I have my left heel control parented to my left foot manipulator. So I created the curve. Okay, I placed it, I scaled it down and scaled it up. Okay, placed it so that I can see my foot inside it, but it's easy to grab. Okay, then I froze transformations, and then I've now parented the heel control joint system to this left foot manipulator. Okay, that way that whenever the left foot manipulator moves, the heel control moves, and the roll attribute that I set up on this left foot manipulator works perfectly. Okay. Alright, so after I parent the left heel control to my left foot manipulator, I'm ready to duplicate this system. So I'm going to actually select the left heel control joint and duplicate that. So I'm going to say edit, duplicate special this time, and you'll notice that the duplicate special options has a duplicate input graph option. Okay, I'm going to turn that on, and after I've reset the settings. Okay, make sure you reset it first so that other options aren't turned on. And this duplicate input graph is useful when you have certain things that are keyframed. It will duplicate that keyframed system. Okay, so it's also good for duplicating node-based connections in your Hypershade. So I'm going to duplicate special this. Okay, and it's actually going to duplicate it with the left foot manipulator 1, so it's going to create another curve. Okay, and it's going to create another whole system underneath it. So it's exactly the same thing, okay, placed exactly on top of each other, right? So this is two systems on top of each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my left heel control, the second one, and I'm going to do a Shift P. That's going to first take it out of my parenting hierarchy from my left foot manipulator node. Okay, so it's no longer parented to my manipulator. This is important to do. So it's out of that hierarchy. Then I'm going to create a translate x value of negative whatever it was. So I'm going to bring it to negative 1.591. Okay, that way it's going to go directly across. Now you may want to just double check the placement of this by making sure that the joints are sitting directly on top of these joints that it is corresponding to by going down the new system, pressing V, and just snap placing it to the corresponding joint system. that it needs to snap to. Okay, that's quite important because you want it to be at the same exact point. Next, what I'm going to do is recreate the constraints for this foot, and this is good review for you guys. So let's get started with that. And the first thing I'm going to do is select the left ankle control. Okay, and I'm going to just use actually my hypergraph because it's faster and easier to select this. So the system has left on it. So first I'm going to rename it real quick. Okay, this is going to be right heel control. This is going to be right toe control. Right ball control. Right ankle control. So I'm going to select the right ankle control, and I'm going to shift select the right leg IK, and I'm going to do a point constraint. Okay, so that's my first constraint to make sure that the IK follows my system. The second thing I'm going to do is constrain my toe control to my right toes using an orient constraint, and let's maintain offset there. I'm going to apply that. Okay. And you can test it by going into the right toe control and just rotating it to make sure that it's controlling the toe rotation with a maintain offset. And the last thing I'm going to do is to control with the ball control my right ankle. And that this is also going to be an orient constraint, and it's my third and final constraint. Okay, so you can test this by going and translating your heel to make sure your IK follows, translating your toe control and ball controlling control joints, orienting it, I'm sorry, to make sure that your foot follows. So you're good to go. And what the last thing I need to do is move my manipulator over, which is sitting directly over the other foot curve. So I'm going to actually move this over, and you can do two things. You can snap it to my heel control, okay, and this was also the pivot point was also snapped to the heel control of the foot actually. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. So if you're not sure how to snap the pivot point of your curve to the joint, all you've got to do is activate the translate tool, press insert, press down the V key, and snap that pivot point to the back. Okay, once you do that and you create a duplicate, then you can see that it snaps nicely to that back heel. So really nice thing about this is that it has the roll attribute, and it's already hooked up to that new system. Alright, so the second thing I want to show you is to set this arm control up, okay, with the wrist orientation, and also finally to set this pull vector control, okay, so that you can easily manipulate the arm rotation pole vector twist. Alright, so let me do the other side because we did one side, and the way to do this is just to create a NURB circle. I'm going to call this right arm manipulator, and then I'm going to V-snap it to my wrist joint here. I'm going to rotate it, okay, and scale it down the way I see fit for this arm. So you want it to be like that, easy to grab, and not like lost in the skin, but not too big. Right there. It's snapped, it's scaled, and I can freeze transform it. Okay, so it resets it to zeros and ones. And then I'm going to do two constraints. One is with it selected, shift select the IK. Okay, and I'm going to do a constraint parent. Okay, that way this will be carrying that IK at all times because the IK will be the child. Secondly, I'm going to shift select the wrist joint and do an orient constraint, making sure that maintain set offset is turned on. Okay, that way I can orient this hand freely like that. The one thing I didn't show you guys yet in class is how to create that pole vector control. Now the pole vector control is really important because it allows you to not only control the twist but also prevent the arm from flipping. So I'm going to create the locator right in here, and it's a new locator. I'm going to call this right arm pole vector control. Okay, and I'm going to move it by translating it and snapping it to my elbow. Okay, notice that it will snap to some vertex, so make sure that you have accuracy in your snap move tool. Okay, and then I'm going to move it back 5 units, but first what I'm going to do is freeze transform so that when I move it back, I know that I'm moving it back like 5 units in the Z, and I'm going to freeze transform again. Okay. The last thing I have to do is with it selected, I'm going to shift select my arm IK and go and just constrain with a pole vector constraint. Okay, it already had that pole vector constraint to another locator, so it just found a new one and located it. Now that's it for the arm setup and the duplication of my reverse foot setup. And I want you guys to try doing this, and this is going to count as your classwork assignment for today. And you can use the file that I have inside week 5 folder under the project folder called IK reverse foot and arm setup, and then save it inside your Dropbox folder.